No, I can't start the recording with the Stone Cold voice because then I'm just going to be destroyed for the rest of the conversation.
Yeah. This is where you drop in a section of the Stone Cold Steve Austin video.
The Stone Toad.
Oh, pardon me.
Hey Mario.
Stone Toad.
Hey Mario. Hey Mario.
Baby, let your light shine down.
Oh! I love the woodcock.
Oh.
What if Steve Austin came out to shine by Collective Soul?
That would be very depressing. Like, it has, don't get me wrong, the guitar riff from Steve Austin's like WWE theme definitely has that feeling of shine down, but it's,
Yeah.
uh,
Hey, John Shinedown. Do you want? Would you like me to pass you a beer? No, I'm cutting back. That's good. That's good for your health. All right.
straight edge.
Thank you for not peer pressuring me. Happy to help.
Whoa, baby, I'm straight edge now. I can't remember if you were there last night when I was watching. No, you weren't there. You had gone to sleep at this point, but I watched a couple other clips from the Royal Rumble last night. Do you want to know who CM Punk got eliminated by in the Royal Rumble?
Who's that?
Logan Paul.
Wah, wah.
Of course. I heard.
Loser.
I heard.
You're a loser.
I saw people. I saw people lamenting the end of the Royal Rumble, but I don't know exactly what happened.
That's the only thing I know. I know that at the end it was like the three people were John Cena, Jey Uso, and Logan Paul, which is a very funny three people to be the last left. Like, I get it from a story perspective, but part of me has to believe that CM Punk getting tossed out by Logan Paul is like very much him eating crow. Just Triple H pulling him to the side and being like, okay, Phil, we got, I know we promised you eventually you're going to get a WrestleMania main event, but it ain't this year, brother. It's
not gonna fucking happen. Well.
What's up, Bridget? You
why is John Cena there?
Because this is like his retirement year, basically.
What do you mean retirement year?
Retiring from wrestling.
Oh.
Yeah, he's winding down.
Yeah, the Scooby-Doo special where he came to be was a while ago.
What was that, Bridget? Continue your thought.
It's more of, I didn't know he was considered like a wrestler still.
He's very much one of those figures who like comes and goes in WWE still.
He's a part-timer.
Like, you could consider him like soft retired since like the mid 2010s. But I imagine that this is going to be like him finally like proper, like, okay, I'm not going to wrestle anymore.
Yeah. After punching those boulders in Scooby-Doo, I imagine.
That took a real toll on his hands, actually. That's documented.
Oh, God.
But yeah, no, it's like the soft retirement that we get from like Germa, where it's like he's not fully not streaming, but he's not career streaming anymore. It's kind of like that, but with wrestling. And again, since he took that blow to the knuckles from breaking literal boulders, like that's insane. And protecting the Groovy Gang, he's now in a situation where he's like, well, that might have cut my
he's
run a
also
little bit
in the
short.
sequel movie.
I'm really not looking forward
He's
to
also
when,
in Surf's Up 2.
Really not looking forward to when one of you two pull the trigger on one of those kinds of fucking movies.
I wouldn't do that. You pointing at me?
In an actual relevant sense, he is in like Peacemaker.
Yes, like that's the thing, is he's finally become big enough that he's in like actual movies and shit. So he's like, yeah, I don't need to fucking do this anymore.
I mean, just so you know, if I was going to pick one of those Scooby-Doo things, it would either be the Batman and Brave and the Bold Scooby-Doo thing or the Courage straight out of nowhere
how come I feel like a deep dread in my stomach at you saying that? Like, I feel like that's foreshadowing for your pick on this next loop.
You can read whatever you want. I wouldn't be...
Bridget, that's like arranged seating on the Titanic. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Like, it just...
Well, I've seen the Courage one. I streamed it to people.
You know what? I don't need the context.
The context is that people want to see the end of Courage more than Scooby-Doo, if anything.
The actual end of Courage is the end of the show. Like, the story of him getting adopted by, like, Eustace and Muriel is the end of that show. It's like a nice little, like, bow to tie on that story.
Yeah.
You don't need fucking Scooby-Doo.
Like, well, bye, Courage.
God damn it.
Goodbye.
And hello to the podcast.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
What we view's connected by cast or crew, deciding the next film, that's the gist. Put it on the list.
Welcome.
The movie's title is a reference to Straight Outta Compton.
No kidding. Wow. Okay.
We have Bridget here with the cool rap faxes. Would you like to drop another cool rap faxes on us?
Sure, Eustace does in fact rap in that movie.
Moving along. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Put It on the List. My name is Jay.
My name is Bree.
I'm Evie.
I'm, Bridget. Are we recording?
Yes!
Okay.
Yes.
Have you not been recording?
I've been recording for 7 minutes.
All right.
I just like to keep you on your toes.
That one very much kept me on my toes because I was going to be very angry at you if you had not been recording during all this conversation. Like, that is perfectly fine
Just
banter.
fill in my dialogue with, like, text-to-speeches.
I wouldn't be able to because I wouldn't have a recording of you if we were doing that.
You can just use an old one. It's fine.
Or you could just put in,
Yeah,
hello,
just
my name is
splice-
Bridget. I would like
Splice
spit
in
mouth and call
my
me a...
previous recordings to create a synthesized...
AI-generated Bridget voice. Oh no, she's using her Parkour Civilization. Oh no, she's catching up. On this podcast, we supposedly talk about movies, and every episode we have to connect them via either cast or crew. Except we've started hitting the end of our current season that we're on, which means everyone's using their wild cards, which means that shit's basically thrown out the window. Because last time on Put It on the List, Bridget had us watch the Uma Musume movie.
I did connect, though.
You connected. However, Evie followed that up, and we this week are talking about Minecraft, but I Survive in Parkour Civilization full movie.
Cinema is back, baby.
A thing that stretches the concept of this podcast to like its thinnest.
It's not on Letterboxd.
Thread.
It's not a movie, clearly.
Let it not be said that I'm not someone who pushes the boundaries.
And thank you for doing so, Evie. But before we get into all that, before we get into breaking open that conversation, that can of worms, we're gonna catch up with one another. I want to put it out there that we only are like a week removed from the recording of the last episode, because after we watched this film, I was like, we need to record soon, because otherwise this is gonna be just gone from my brain like that.
Yeah, because there's no way that Jay was going to retain it, and also there was no way she was going to watch it again. So, like, we just had to strike while the iron.
I don't think any of us were going to watch it again, in my defense.
Yeah, I guess not.
You really think that this great cinematic achievement was somehow going to leave your mind palace after completely blowing your mind as to the possibilities of what film can be?
Yeah.
Oh.
Bree, what have you been up to since last time we recorded?
A depressing sentiment. I realize I've not been doing as much art. I guess I've still been streaming, but I don't know. I've been... We won't get into it, but the world's in a state right now, and my mind has been following suit. So I've been just kind of getting by.
It sure is. A penny for your thoughts is worth about like $5 at this point. But hey,
Yeah.
Evie, have you been up to anything since last time?
Still been unemployed. Been trying to. Bridget just sorry on listener, you can't hear this, but Bridget just tried to kill a fly
Or a mosquito. One of the two.
mosquito.
Try.
I guess that would make more sense.
Good job.
Hell yeah!
Congrats.
Still unemployed, still looking.
But on a good track still.
On a good track. We'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
Either way, it doesn't define you.
Thank you.
Capitalism
Damn.
doesn't decide your worth. Fuck them.
Damn. Thanks, Bree.
You're welcome. That's been the Brie-based take. I hope you all like it. You get one every podcast. But only one. Everything else is going to be demented
That is the true
gibberish.
dichotomy of the Bree input on the podcast. You get like one little nugget of wisdom, and you get one very incendiary comment that happens.
Guaranteed.
Just like verging on legally actionable.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's just I'm making it.
For sure. Bridget, how about you?
Well-
What you been up to?
What Evie failed to mention is we finished The Lost Village.
Do you have anything to say about The Lost Village, Evie?
I mean, it was fine. It was a fine show.
You know what's another thing you finished, I think, since the last time we recorded? Princess Jellyfish.
Yes, we've been watching Princess Jellyfish over the past few weeks and finished it
What
up.
did you think? What did you think about that
It's
show?
it's a very lovely show. I was left wishing that they had made like 100 more episodes of it because it was just
Yeah.
it was just that charming and like fun to watch.
The mark of anything good is to end before its time, as opposed to wring itself out to the point of exhaustion. And that really is the tragedy, is anything good has to end at a...
That's
know.
fair,
What
but
about
the thing is,
hippopotamus song?
huh?
Dog what?
She's still talking about the Lost Village. We don't have to acknowledge that.
Hey, The Lost Village has Love Pawn. I love Love Pawn. She is a great character.
Anyway.
All right, fine. We can talk about the Lost Village instead of the good thing that we watched. The thing that I liked about the Lost Village was like it had the dynamic of just like being a reality show, kind of just like this ensemble cast that was just full of messy
Pieces of
motherfuckers. Yeah, it's just like, you know, you got to see what happens when people stopped being polite and started being real. And it involved shooting arrows at each other.
Nice.
And a woman whose entire purpose in life is to commit murder.
Yeah, she has some real homicidal impulses.
Bree already delivering the second part of the promise.
Guaranteed. TM.
But no, yeah, the thing I was going to say about Princess Jellyfish is that one is less of a like it stopped before it could like fall apart, and more of it is a prime example of the like go read the manga, you fucker type ending.
I could see that, yeah.
Like
Because,
it's
like, I really like that show, but that ending really doesn't resolve all that much.
Yeah, it does just kind of end.
Yeah, it's a very wet fart of an ending where it's just like, oh, okay, nothing. There was no true conflict at the end of the day. Like, there's kind of a true conflict here, but not really.
But though I haven't read the manga as an anime, it is a nice little warm hug of an
Yes.
anime. It's nice. My
It
second
is-
time watching all the way through it, I think, and it's just really good.
It is a nearly perfect show.
Nearly.
Is how I would. It's one of the best, like. You want to talk about romantic comedies, I would argue Princess Jellyfish is probably one of my favorite romantic comedies
Sure.
that exists out there. You know, despite one particular character in that show.
Yeah.
That piece of shit lady, you know the one I'm talking
We all
about.
know the one. If you watch it, if you go check that out after this, and you hear it, you watch it, you're like, yeah, no, I know who they mean. That's got to be her.
It's currently streaming on Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Go check it out.
You have to give money to
And so is
Crunchyroll.
The Lost
but
Village.
Don't watch The Lost Village.
No, you
Watch
should.
Princess Jellyfish.
You should watch both. Why not both?
It did leave me wanting to read the manga, and so I will probably do that at some point.
I have ADHD and dyslexia, so it's hard to make me want to read something. But it gets
There's a
there.
character who has silicone in his head, so he imagines a giant boob with legs attacking him.
In the Lost
In the
Village,
Lost Village.
not in Princess Jellyfish. I love this conversation because it's just bleeding these two shows together.
These shows
in a
that
very
have
odd
zero
way.
anything at all intertwining themes, characters, nothing.
We want to talk about something that's antithetical to the idea of this podcast in general. It is trying to talk about the Lost Village and Princess Jellyfish at the same time.
Yeah. And I've been listening to the audiobook of Neuromancer. I'm about, 2/3 through that. It's really good.
Hell yeah. Bridget, how about you? You been up to anything in particular?
Besides the stuff I've already said, I watched a little bit more of 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You, which
Does
is...
that one girl get meth yet?
No, she hasn't gotten meth yet. This show
that's the show that the meth diaper girl that you love so much is on.
Yeah, the meth
Oh,
diaper
okay.
girl. You see, there's a character in it, and I didn't explain this to you all. She's a multifaceted character. She took an immortal drug that sometimes reduces her body stature into being small. She has a shrinking and growing problem.
So there's an excuse for the lolly. Okay, yeah, that's new. Go ahead.
And so she sometimes grows and shortens, and also she's always wearing a diaper because running to the bathroom is too wastes too much time. And also she really loves drugs. I mean, super loves drugs, and really constantly comments on she really wishes she could try meth.
Question. We watched the first episode of this show together ages ago. Why are you still watching it?
Because it's made, I feel like it's made by somebody who's insane.
Are you winning, son?
I mean, for what it's worth, the show is about having positive polyamory relationships and learning how to navigate, and it's also just insane.
I don't think you should learn to have your it's interpersonal relationships through a TV show.
Quick question: is this polyamory or is it just bigamy?
Yeah. It's polyamory in the same way that
Are they all just sister girlfriends?
yeah, in the same way that a Mormon polycules.
All of them. There is two characters in particular that are kinda, but the others I'm not sure about. The other
2% ratio.
Yeah, well, let me put it this way. The two of the girls have kissed each other multiple times.
Were they practicing so that they could kiss the guy better?
Well, one of them was, and the other was because they had a zombie drug.
Let's move on. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
I don't either.
Anyways, that show's dumb.
It sounds like it is extremely dumb. As you could tell by my lack of saying it.
I beat 2 different games. I
What
beat
else?
a PCFX
Demolition.
launch game, which is interesting in a historical sense.
You're talking about Team Innocent, Point of No Return?
Yes, the
1994 game that recently
Yeah.
received an English patch. I was there while you beat it.
Very
Yeah.
early 90s anime OVA energy to it, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This was pre the PCFX just defaulting to pornography, even though it already has that boob jiggle DNA in it.
I mean, that's unfortunately just anime at the time, I would say.
And then, of course, I beat the Division yesterday.
AKA Demolition Girl.
AKA Simple 2000 Series Volume 50.
A game that you said you would rather play than watch the topic of discussion for this week's
the
podcast.
movie that we're talking about.
Which is... That makes no sense
That's
to
wild
me,
to me,
but
because
we'll
that
get
game
to
looked bad.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
that
wasn't
game-
good. I'll tell you that. It was pretty bad.
But I guess that just speaks to how bad you think Parkour Civilization is, but we'll get there.
There's a section of the game where everybody thought her boobs were talking because her mouth doesn't move.
Everyone in the sense of the audience watching the live stream.
Yeah.
Not the people in the game.
Yeah, multiple people in the chat that were watching the stream did think that.
Yeah, which is, again, understandable because her mouth does not move, but my god, do those boobs jiggle when,
And
when
not
that
in a
scene
good way.
happens.
At all.
No, it's a pretty bad jiggle.
Then it like sticks into place at the end, which is...
God. Yeah, that game seems like...
Should I play Time and Eternity finally?
No, you shouldn't.
I feel like you continually ask this question and you get the same answer every time.
Yes, Bridget, I can almost guarantee that anytime you pose me with the question of, should I finally play X bad game or Y bad game, my answer is going to be no. You should play a good game. You know what you should play? You should play Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium's a good-ass video game.
It is. 1,000 times
everybody's-
resist. Good game.
Like, I don't feel like... instead of playing Disco Elysium, I should just play, what is it called? Genius versus Antichrist.
See,
Which is
that's-
inspired by Disco Elysium.
That I would support you in playing because that game is actually a whole
It's something
different
else. Yeah.
breed of beast.
You could play Stimulation Clicker. That's the game I played that made
I
everyone
couldn't
watching
watch
leave.
you. I couldn't watch you
neither could
playing it
anyone
because it
else.
was
I had 0 viewers
so
when I finished that. Okay,
bad.
yeah.
A stimulation clicker, for the people listening that don't know, is a Neil.fun game that the whole conceit of it is an auto clicker where it's designed for you to just set up these like machines that stimulate, like, fuck, why am I forgetting the word? Simulate stimulation, like things that people do for themselves to keep them occupied in their free time. So, like, you click enough times that eventually you get a thing that just plays, like, a picture-in-picture of Subway Surfers in the bottom right corner. You get a thing that eventually plays, like, lo-fi hip-hop in one section of the thing with, like, even the little anime girl, like, studying.
You get rain sounds with a
You get rain
graphic.
sounds.
You get the
You-
DVD menu popping, like, into
Yeah.
different corners and stuff, you know.
But it all stacks.
and
So
it becomes a cacophony.
yes. It's amazing.
Yeah.
As someone who got to the actual end of that, I think it is something that is worth sticking through to the end, but it is a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
God, what the fuck was I gonna... No, I mean, Bridget, at the end of the day, when I say you should play Disco Elysium, I don't even necessarily mean to stream. You should play Disco Elysium just in general.
I honestly wish I'd played it by myself in the first place. Like, it's one of those you should sit with it vibes-wise, I've realized.
Like, that is arguably one of the best written video games of all time. No, not one of. It is arguably the best written video game of all time. And everyone should experience it, despite it being a bit of a tome to get through, let's say. So that's my recommendation to you, Bridget, is in your free time, play Disco Elysium. We share a Steam library. You can easily take part in it.
I have it on the Switch.
You should play it then. You've
I've
yours-
played at least 2 hours of it.
Play more hours of
Play
it.
the entirety of it. You can't experience the full breadth of the story and what it has to offer for you until you go all the way through it.
I hate being a person who's like, I never want to be the person who's just like, oh, you gotta experience this piece of media that I really love. But like, the thing about Disco Elysium is just like, it's got like it has so many like little bits of writing in it that I just think about all the time.
Oh yeah, like the phasmid. I will just say that like the phasmid is one of my favorite pieces of writing ever. In general.
I think about the bourgeoisie are not human all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's just like that is one of those things that's just like, oh, that's going to stick with me forever, and I'm going to think about it until I fucking die.
Yeah. Like that is the level of quality that we are talking about here that you have not even like breached the surface of. It is such a thing that you have barely scratched the surface of, that saying you've played 2 hours is like saying that you dipped your toe into a pool. Like that is not any of what the full breadth of that game has to offer.
But also it's like, I don't know, if Bridget doesn't like it, like what's the point of making it like a signed reading, you know?
I mean, I guess that's fair. Like, I was thinking about that as I was going off, where it's like, yeah, I mean, if it doesn't vibe, it doesn't vibe. But it's so good.
But if you can hear the sound of my voice and you haven't played Disco Elysium yet, you should probably play it.
You should
play that game.
You should give that video game a try. It's quite good. It's on the Internet Archive currently, uploaded by one of the main dudes who
it was not. It was not.
No. Don't do that one.
Don't do that one?
No. Like, don't. It's just some random executable on the internet. Don't run random executables from the internet on your computer.
Like you should.
Okay. I'm just saying.
We need to go back to the old ways, and that includes being careful about what you run on your fucking computer.
Okay, fine. Don't download random executables on the internet.
Find a friend who bought it from GOG, and then like get their copy. Or you
could buy, or not buy, if you have the ability to, there is a bootleg port of Disco Elysium on the Game Boy Color, and you can go play that version.
Oh, yeah.
That's not going to...
I forgot.
That's not going to have the whole thing on it, though.
Yeah. It's neat in concept. Good on whoever did that.
What an interesting concept for a remake, honestly. But
anyways, I guess we have caught up with everyone.
We have to get started.
We still have to do icebreaker questions. Okay. We don't have too much in the way of new ones. Most of them are related like directly to the thing that we're going to be talking about. However, this one's more tangentially related, and I think it's going to get a rise out of one of us here. Dusty Stars on Blue Sky, which you can follow us at putitontheList.bsky.social, asks, did Bridget take over the pod? The last few choices feel very Bridget coded.
How does that make you feel, Bridget?
And that was in response to specifically the Minecraft But I Survive in Parkour Civilization reveal.
Dusty, I don't know why you would think I would pick Minecraft.
To be fair, when Evie revealed that at the end of the last episode, you were popping off. You were excited. You were like, yeah, yeah.
And as your friend who loves you, I have to say, it was extra fun while watching the life leave your eyes as it continued to go on. Was half of the entertainment of watching this film.
Well, to Dusty's question specifically, I assumed it was referring to the 3 picks before Minecraft, because they were all anime.
Yes,
that's fair.
Yeah.
However, I don't think. Here's the thing. I don't think Bridget would ever pick any of the Garden of Sinners movies for this podcast. And I don't think
I would have picked 5 eventually. It's not like remember,
you do.
I rate that 5
also.
Stars.
Yeah. Would you have ever picked the first Slam Dunk though?
Eventually, as like a list of movies I still needed to see.
Okay, for sure.
But I picked it as soon as I could.
Yeah, beat you to the punch. Owen on Blue Sky asks, I feel like this stretches the premise of the podcast, but it does open the door for skibbity toilet analysis, so I'll allow it. And the final question before we get into it, girls, what are you going for? You going for the beef or you going for the chicken?
I mean, you have to go for the beef.
I agree.
It's only marginally more difficult.
Brie?
As we'll find out once we get into the film, going for the beef is what you need to do if you want to go for greatness. If you just want to continue your life as a parkour noob and just go nowhere and live a mundane life of constantly eating raw chicken, you can do that. But is that really living?
I mean, I would describe it differently, but I'll get into it. I also choose the beef.
Yeah.
But I would
aim higher. You deserve it. Get that beef.
Bridget, are you doing the 1 block jump for chicken or the 1 block vertical for beef?
Well, I mean, I guess beef, because I'll actually eat beef as opposed to chicken.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You have the like, not only is it chicken, it's raw chicken.
Oh yeah.
Like,
you mean you cook all the nutrients out of your chicken?
If it's raw chicken, you are just dying. You'll probably get
chicken
salmonella and die.
Okay? Don't have unpasteurized milk. Please take care of yourself, all right?
Okay, but with those questions out of the way, it's time. Evie, you've brought us here to Minecraft, but I Survive in Parkour Civilization full movie. Give us a cursory summary of what this film is.
Okay, all right. There's a difference between what this film is and what happens in it. Okay, what the film is about is it follows the story of young Evbo as he it has this film has the vibe of someone like a friend who's bad at telling stories, telling you something that happened to them, and like it just like it keeps going. But young Evbo, which is also the name of the creator who made the movie, lives in Parkour Civilization. And I guess the thing that's important to say up front, this movie is entirely made in Minecraft, and so it is almost entirely from like this first person perspective featuring this little guy. And he lives in Parkour Civilization, which is a society focused entirely around jumping between blocks. When people say like this is Minecraft parkour, which means this isn't like District B13 or anything. Like this is not like French, cool, brick houses or anything. It's just like jumping from one block to another block, and you have to do that for everything in this society.
Like, it's to the point that, like, I think the hardest part of this experience to get through is, like, the first 45 minutes of it.
Yeah.
Because up front, when you are presented with this idea of, like, Minecraft parkour, it is so slow and like unimpressive to someone that does not like interface with Minecraft, let alone video games, that you're going to be looking at this and being like, this person is just skipping. Like, this is not impressive at all.
Yeah.
Bree.
Well, I was just going to say that, like, the first hour of this film, which is the first 11 minutes, where they're explaining how this whole thing works, is really just, like Jay said, it takes time to get through that initial explanation. The time dilation was fascinating in this one. But, like, it will, as we'll get into later, it's kind of the repetition that makes it.
Yeah.
There is a rule of threes thing at play here, where as this continues to have, like, the story, as it has more, like, recap and, like, flashbacks than One Piece in its entirety in this 2-hour segment, how it, like, continues the same fucking joke over and over again, it grows on you. Honestly, I did not think I was going to have a good time with this film, but call it the camaraderie of watching it with y'all. I ended up enjoying my time. I have no desire to watch it again, but this was fun. This was a fun movie.
Anyways, Evie, go ahead and continue.
Yeah, and so it's just the story of this little fella as he attempts to first, he starts as like a parkour noob. And then
as he notes multiple times.
Yes. And he strives to become a parkour pro, which is like the next strata on the sort of class system at play here. And
that's the life of a parkour noob. You got to do parkour if you want to move up.
Yep. And so he strives, and then he learns more about the nature of the world that he lives in until like he reaches the peak and becomes parkour champion. And a lot of stuff happens in between then and there, but also not a whole lot happens between then and there. It's kind of the same thing over and over again.
Like, I don't even know where to move from there, because like it truly is the same thing over and over.
Well, first we need to address,
again,
as we kind of did earlier, the way that we work with obtaining sustenance in the noob level of parkour.
Oh yeah, you forgot to note the most important thing about starting off in Parkour Civilization, which is every day someone comes to your door, tells you to wake up, and says like, okay, this is how you get food. You either do a one block horizontal jump for some raw chicken, or you do a 1 block vertical jump for some beef. No one ever goes for the beef because it's too risky. So everyone just always goes for the chicken. And it's in the metaphorical reading of this story, it is the way that the lower class is kept in its place. There is, you never take any risks or anything of that nature because it's too much to take on to like potentially lose your life to go for a little bit more. So you're just always going to like stay at the same spot.
This is a movie about capitalism.
It's
100%.
It's very much so. Bridget pointed out to me the other morning, she sent me a Letterboxd link to a movie called The Platform and was just like, this is just Minecraft, but I survive in Parkour Civilization.
Okay, so here's why I picked this movie. Is just like, there's so much stuff that we can look at in this film and be like, oh, like there are thematic resonances here that remind us of other works, but this is made by someone who is completely naive to every single one of those influences.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
There's no way Evo, like, I can't speak for the man, I guess, but there's no way that this guy has seen The Platform. Like,
yeah, but also, part of me believes that he has to have seen like at least one of those kinds of movies, because for me, the main thing that once this film gets moving, the main thing my mind was thinking about was just like, oh, it's just Parasite. Like, we're just watching Parasite right now. Like, this is about how, like, the only way that you can ever, like, move up in life is essentially by, like, faking it. Yeah. Like, you just have to, like, fucking cheat and have dumb luck to get through situations.
Yes, and every time, like, it's meant to be impossible to do, and only by cheating does he ever ascend these levels. And, like, I was like, this is telling you that you need to cheat in order to ascend the levels of poverty. And that's a pretty, I mean, it's a baseline reading of it, but it acknowledges capitalism. I wasn't expecting this film to do that. So I'll give it that credit.
Like, the way I would describe it, Evie, is less that this dude has, like, never seen those movies, but more that he wasn't able to get, like, a full read of, like, the dynamics that these, like, style of movies are, like, actually working with. Like, especially once you get... So, one of the big revelations that ends up happening in the story is, like, we have him starting off at, like, just the basic parkour, like, noob civilization thing, but he eventually, like, gets a raffle ticket that opens up the door for him to ascend to the next level, what he presumes is like what would be the top of it. And, you know, he tries to take his first step and he fucking fails as soon as he gets that raffle ticket, and he falls. Presumably, he always thought that you just die, but no, as it turns out, much like in real Civilization, you don't just die when you, like, you know, lose your status that you are at like lower class. You in fact get like thrown into the prison industrial complex, or like you become
parkour
homeless.
Hell in this case.
Like it's parkour prison. He calls it parkour prison.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, yeah, that in some ways, yes, that is like a kind of very true thing that happens. However, because he's still a YouTuber, and also because it's supposed to be like short form entertainment, he isn't able to like make it more realistic, and instead is like, no, actually it's super easy. You can just leave. You can just leave, but you don't get access
But you will
to
never get that promotion.
that chance to be a pro again.
Yeah.
And also, we
like,
sold your house.
No, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Part of how he escapes is he realizes, much like he did with like, you know, the way that the higher levels make you do different levels, you know, of parkour to show that you're, you know, that you're doing what you're supposed to, which I guess is supposed to show for like how jobs work. Essentially, he realizes he can get out of prison because you can just bribe them with parkour, which is the currency of the world, is that you can just be like, hey, let me challenge you to this, and then you can get out of shit.
But that's not how he gets out of prison. The way he gets out of prison, he bribes the guard to get out of his cell.
Yeah.
And he tries to formulate a plan. The guard catches him and just says like, oh no, you can leave whenever.
You can just leave.
Yeah. Like,
I forgot that.
Yes, yeah. Like that's what I'm talking about.
There's a lot of setup and then like, oh, what do you mean?
Like, okay, so that's the other thing. I was shocked, more than anything, I was shocked by how actually funny this thing was at points. Like, it's definitely YouTuber comedy.
Oh yeah,
like it is.
I can't be in prison if I want to be a real top level parkour person. I need to get out of here. I'm gonna need to find a way out. Which he just sounds confident he can just do, and he can. But like that's the level of depth of writing we're working with here. It's just like, I'm the protagonist. I got to get out of here. I don't belong in prison.
So the way that I describe, because when I initially tried watching this, I was trying to do it just by myself. And I watched like the first 20 minutes and I was like, oh, I need to have other people with me. Yeah. I will not survive doing this by myself.
Yeah.
But I could tell from the first 20 minutes that what was going to happen is everything, because so we kind of have to talk about how this was initially produced, which is it was like fucking YouTube shorts. Like, it is just a bunch of...
Yeah, it is two hours of YouTube shorts, like, edited together.
Yes, like, very, very stretching what is the definition of a movie here. Like, taking the idea of a compilation movie like you would have in anime, but, like, hyper-compressing it even more so. Like, we are not working with, like, half-hour episodes anymore. We are working with, like, 2-minute skits.
This is like somebody suggesting one of the Wayne Radio, like...
Yeah, like Half-Life VR, but the AI is self-aware. Something like that.
So, something that, like, popped up into my brain while we were watching it is just like, oh, like that production of Hamlet that they recorded in Grand Theft Auto. Like, it's something like that.
Sure.
I was legitimately thinking of picking that for my next movie, but I was like, we can't do 2 video game like things in a row. I have to go somewhere. Like that, and the thing with that is like that is a movie that was getting like award nominations like for what it was doing. So like despite how loosely this experience can be defined as a movie, it does still fall into that. Like, it calls itself a movie. I guess it's a movie at this point.
Yeah, and intertech, and like something that's like a sort of intertext here that sort of like frames how I think about this thing is someone named Wadapan, Wadapan, wrote a blog post about this for the blog Shill Seekers, and it's just like 7,000 words about this fucking thing.
God damn.
And like discussing like kind of the context in which it was made, going like kind of they had watched a video of Evbo discussing what it was like to make this thing and kind of what his process was, as well as the sort of like how this movie is kind of situated in a creative method that is like hyper, like the incentives for making it are hyper reactive, whereas just like you're doing the thing that works based on like the results you get from the algorithm until that no longer works, and then you change just enough until it works again, and then like you continuously do that for as long as you can.
That person has the algorithmic reading brain that I wish I did as a content creator, because fuck man, like I don't have the head for that shit.
Well, apparently like Evo started making this more like narrativistic Minecraft content after like three months straight of just like his usual stuff not doing any numbers at all. So he was just like, well, what if I just started making just like a little movie instead, just kind of like 2 minutes at a time. And Wadapan also places this thing in with like in the context of like a lit RPG, like your the stuff that would become isekai type stuff, where like a lot of what this movie is about is like interacting with the specific rules of Minecraft and how the society is built around them and
built.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because it's kind of like naively made, and they make a comparison to like Skinamarink, which is a movie that like critically people like pull comparisons to stuff like the works of David Lynch or what have you, but like it's most directly inspired by like what's that called? Not Marble Hornets. The other one,
Marvel Rivals.
No. It's another YouTube one?
Yeah, it's another analog horror thing.
Fuck, Marble Hornets is the main one that I think about. Like the Backrooms? Are you thinking of something like that?
It was like another. Hold on, let me find it.
It's an older one? Oh, okay.
I think it's a newer one actually.
Mandela Catalog?
Yes, it is like directly based on that, and so like. I think it's really interesting because the influences that are being pulled on here are things that are just like completely within this extremely specialized, narrow media landscape that for the most part we don't engage with. Like, yeah. So like this thing can be what it is and like have these thematic resonances based off of just like without they went and reinvented the bus all over again. Like I think that's really interesting.
It's deeply interesting. It speaks to like YouTube as the new like media landscape, because you look at stuff like that, you look at how like what's his name, the guy who did the Backrooms, Kane Pixels, is like getting A24 deals. You look at Skinamarink, because that director started as a YouTube like horror person as well. You look to the way that video essays have evolved over the course of the last like decade or so, where those in and of themselves have kind of become their own short films in a way, like,
and become an educational vehicle in a way that's
So like it is definitely fascinating to look at it in that context. And I think that it's fascinating in the specific context of like Parkour Civilization, because like essentially what we are seeing like a let's play, like something that is usually like extremely long, like hours and hours of content getting like hyper condensed down to like a just single 2-hour chunk. Like, and it works. I say like a Let's Play, despite it like having a genuine narrative to it. The humor of
it feels
Parkour,
yeah, just the moment to moment, like the way he talks, it feels like a Let's Play.
The way he talks feels like a Let's Play. The way that jokes play out in it feel like the running jokes of Let's Plays. Things that would more so like happen naturally over the course of like I said, several hours, instead are like hyper condensed down to the point that like things get repeated so much that, to return to the thing that I was like talking about 5 minutes ago, like one of the big like plot point / jokes in this movie is the fact that like Evbo's big parkour trick that he can do is he does a 360 while he jumps between blocks, and every single character that he meets over the course of the story is like, I've never fucking seen someone do that before.
How is that possible?
Yeah.
Or jumping backwards.
Oh yeah.
And to return to an even earlier point that I was making, the first time that he does that, because of how simplistic the idea of Minecraft parkour is to like a layman viewer of this movie, you're just like, this means nothing to me. It just looks like you spun around. Like there's no like sense of awe to it. However, like as the fascinating thing about it is, as it gets further along in the story, those tricks actually do become weirdly more impressive, like as he picks up the speed on something, because like you kind of have to talk about the mechanics of Minecraft at this point. Like the thing about where he starts off in that game is he starts off with like a low hunger meter, which essentially your hunger in Minecraft determines like how fast you can move generally. So like you start with that low meter, you can basically only walk between things, and because you can only walk, you can only jump like a very short amount of distance. So we as viewers, like that's the thing that makes that first chunk of the movie so fucking slow, is because you don't realize what like the limitations actually are that he is working with, because you don't understand the hunger meter.
Yeah, he never says, oh, I can't get a running start because I'm too hungry. It's the sort of thing where like if someone had used like a traditional like way to build a narrative just to make this exact same story, like that, they would point that out, to be like, oh, I'm like, because I've eaten nothing but like a single piece of raw beef every day, like I can't like actually like run and jump like someone who's actually well fed. But like, because it's entirely through the lens of Minecraft mechanics. I keep saying Minecraft, I can tell, and it's driving me nuts. Anyway, because it's entirely through the lens of Minecraft mechanics, like it sort of obfuscates what the stakes are. And like he touches on it later in the movie, where he's just like, if I get too hungry, I won't be able to run anymore, and that'll be a big problem for me. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
It's part of what is interesting in the progression of this movie, because that first chunk of it, the pacing is so fucking slow that it's like glacial. But once so the big thing that the big like lifting of the veil moment that happens in this movie is like he gets his second chance at like doing the like course to become a parkour pro, and he gets up to that area and he discovers like, oh no, actually there's even more echelons over just being a parkour pro.
Yeah, more societies blocking view of the sky that hover above you as other levels.
But
and there's,
because like it starts to reveal more of the world, it ends up like weirdly necessitating explanation of the mechanics of the game a little bit more. And once you start getting that base level understanding, the pacing becomes way more easy to handle. You finally understand the rules a bit more, and it's like, oh, okay, I get it. And it weirdly becomes more genuinely engaging as a movie to watch through as a result of that.
And that's the other thing too, the concept of colloquially referring to making a particular jump in Minecraft as being Minecraft parkour. If you're out of the loop of that, you're watching this going yeah, my favorite thing about free running is very carefully stopping and going at miniature aspects of movement. What do you mean? Is that what you're calling this? What is happening? What is any of this? And you can still feel that way knowing that. But yeah, sure. It takes a minute to get started. But
it's interesting because, like Evie, you were saying, it starts off feeling very naively made, but because of the way that it is produced, you weirdly see the storytelling, the talent of his storytelling, mildly improving over the course of it.
Sure.
By the end, he's still not great.
No.
This movie just kind of ends. There's
any creative endeavor that takes a long amount of time to do, as you're doing it and as time goes on in your life, you develop, getting better at something. So it's yeah, sure.
Yeah, but it's fucking very fascinating.
It is.
As a thing to consider. However, that's just the opinion of the three of us. There's one person amongst our group who we saw the slow deterioration of over the course of this movie. Bridget, do you want to talk about how this movie made you feel?
Fred must paint the wall. This is a reference to the Flintstone game that starts out with the very exciting task of painting a wall, which I think is about on par of what this movie is. This movie runs on what a select few people in the world call goof troop time.
So explain what goof troop time is.
Yeah, I'm actually not familiar.
Okay, so Goof Troop is a magical show where if you were to watch an episode of it, 50 plots happen in one episode. So a bunch of things happen. However, the half an hour feels like an hour. It's not even a half an hour. It's 20 minutes, whatever. But so when something's running on Goof Troop time, it is elongating the experience. You're just stuck in a box with Goofy.
Oh, yeah.
And it's interesting to me because, again, to describe the recording last time when Evie revealed she was picking Parkour Civilization, you were celebrating. You were yeah, yay! You were so hyped to get to watch this. And even through the first it was probably 40 minutes, I think, something like that. You were mostly handling it, despite occasionally moving in ways that signaled exacerbation. You were this isn't bad or anything like that. It's just taking so long. And then we got past the hour mark and we could see the exhaustion just plastered over your fucking face.
Your hands frustratedly pushing at your skull was my response to the previous film we watched.
That's what made this movie maybe the most engaging to watch. Is the thing that Bridget felt watching this movie is how I felt watching Uma Musume or watching X 1999. Bridget, you finally got to feel what I feel. That is what I mean when I say one of those things has bad pacing. It just feels like you're trapped in a box with this fucking thing, and you won't get let out ever.
And to anyone who has not seen Bridget play video games online, she's built different. She can handle a lot of dumb, basic stupid shit, and she'll play the games that we want, basically, and she'll play the D3 games, if you will. So she's okay with mediocre content and laughing at dumb things and being able to stomach that. seeing something that she couldn't handle sitting through was really funny. It was a unique, like, moment where I got to be like, this is special. This is like when we saw, like, the first Slam Dunk, and we were like, this feels special.
It's like uncovering a Rosetta Stone that finally, like, translates the language between, like, ours and Bridget's mind.
To express this feeling of being exacerbatedly bored.
This was like watching the Ugg gloves in the Big Balloon Adventure. I'm sorry, the Oogie Loves.
You haven't heard of Toot Toot Chugga Chugga Big Red Car? You know, it's a fruit salad, yummy yummy.
So, like, that was, like, the second most entertaining thing about this movie, aside from the things repeated so ad nauseum that you unlock what I like to call the rule.
I can't believe I did that. Oh, I guess I'm gonna have to do that. Oh, I can't believe I did that. Oh, I guess I'm gonna... Oh, I can't believe I did that.
To finish my point, to the point of unlocking what I like to call the rule of tens, which is definitely not a unique concept that I came up with, but, like, it's the rule of threes but expanded. You know, you do a joke once, it's funny. Do a joke the second time, you're like, okay, you've done that already. You do it the third time, though, and it's hilarious. You do it 10 times, and it's the funniest fucking thing you've ever seen. And that's what happens with this movie, is, like, everything gets repeated over and over again so much that every single time that, like, he is in a clinch situation, I'm like, he's gonna do a fucking 360, or he's going to jump backwards. And he does. And I know in my brain, the person watching is gonna be like, I've never seen that before. And it happens, and it still makes me laugh. It's incredible.
I wanted to count the number of times that this movie says the word noob.
Oh, this is a movie you could absolutely make a drinking game out of.
Oh, yeah.
Except for the fact that you would die.
You will die.
You can't do it because it would kill you.
Yeah.
Any of the words that you would pick out would just destroy your liver.
Sips of beer would kill you in one night.
So I think one of my favorite moments in this movie is when it is revealed that it is not simply a, like, you know, Parasite or The Platform type situation where, you know, it's upper echelons of things. Early on in the story, Evbo has a flashback to, like, how things got to where they are. That's just like some casual conversation with another Minecraft YouTuber in game, and then you find out, like, an hour and 10 minutes in, that was an implanted memory
to allow the citizens to love parkour.
Yeah, to induce them to believe that parkour is the main way to resolve problems.
It's almost like saying that, you know, you've convinced people that money is the only way to make anything happen, and that they have to exist in certain levels to, you know, it's about capitalism.
So, the citizens of the civilization live under a regime of parkour realism.
Oh yeah,
where there's like part where there are no, like, sufficient alternatives to parkour.
We don't want to talk about Minecraft Max Fisher or whatever that author's name is.
Yeah, Mark Fisher. Fisher. It's easier to believe, you know, an end of the world than, like, an end to parkour.
This is fair.
Like, it's just so, it's so fascinating in that way. And there's, like, a there's, like, a, like, chosen one. This is the other reason why, like you were saying, Evie, there's, like, a naivete to the, like, to the writing of this thing, where it's like, it's not so much that Evbo hasn't seen the movies that it's clearly, like, taking from, but it's that creator not understanding the full point of what they were trying to get across in those films, because there's like a chosen one narrative to it. There's like, despite the fact that like there's a criticism of like bootstrapping and stuff like that, it still very much like kind of believes in bootstrapping
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, like
to
that's,
get to the top.
that's what makes me think that it is fully naive. Like, it's just like that. Anything that we're reading into it is like it's what we're bringing that to this work, because like this like the stratification between noobs and pros and masters, like that's just like being on a Minecraft server. I did it again. Minecraft server, where it's just like there's a reason why my young nephews know what it means to have admin privileges, despite the fact that like no one hosts servers anymore, like other than for Minecraft. Like it's a stratification that exists like within the game, but it's just like it's not expressed in like a single, like it's not expressed in a way that we really are familiar with, because like we don't fuck with Minecraft.
Sure. It's something, it's like it's verging on class consciousness. Like it's one of those, like you're almost there. You like almost got it, but at the end of the day, you're still a Minecraft YouTuber, so you're probably making like more money than I do in like
he jumped ass backwards and missed the block that he was trying to jump on, but landed in class consciousness instead. Like it's...
One other fun thing is that, like, early on, you do get some conversations with the other characters, or, like, people will be talking to them, but then he'll go off on a tangent while walking along with these other characters and say, like, he told me that this is the way that this works and that these people... Have him tell you. Like, why are you not...
Yeah.
If this is a movie you're putting together, even of these clips, don't tell me what he told you. Have him tell you. What do you mean? This isn't a book. This is a movie.
You know the rule, show don't tell. This movie is only tell.
All tell. Just
only tell.
A medium of show.
Dialogue is boring.
It's so bad.
No, I mean, like, dialogue is boring. Just like, it's, hey, anytime where you could like have someone like where you could like contrive a conversation, just tell him what he's gonna tell. Just say what he's gonna tell you. Like, it's very like, it is in a sense, it is just like cutting to the chase in order to make more room for recapping what just happened.
Yeah, it's let's play storytelling again. Like, it's people like going through stories but talking over the dialogue, kind of like truncating down what's like happening here and reacting to what is happening here, as opposed to letting it just kind of naturally unfurl before you over the course of the story.
Yeah. Another small little pocket that I enjoyed about this that was kind of reminiscent of Deep Cover. There was a moment where he's at the bank and he had to guess how much he had to pay in parkour to like obtain a house or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were just like, oh, you can like, like usually you would pay in like particular things, but they're like, no, you build the course to, pay for this. But they're not going to tell you how much they need to do. They're just like, no, and you need to impress me. And if you don't do anything good enough, I'm not doing it for you. And so it got me to thinking about that little like import store that they're like working with that lady in Deep Cover, where they say, I don't know if you've been to a shop like this, but if you have to ask how much something is, you can't afford it. Like, it was very reminiscent of that. And I was like, wow, no, that really does speak to that weird level of like financial, privilege, where it's just like, you have the money to do this. You could like do this parkour jump. You know how to be impressive, but you come up to that level and you're like, where's the price tag? Look at this guy.
I'm getting the same entertainment value right now from this conversation that I was from the movie, because I could see Bridget like silently judging you right now, Bree.
I got a deep read of this film. It's good.
You sure did.
I took a lot of notes. Okay, like
this movie is the new like.
Somebody has to dig into that septic tank.
This movie is the new like I'm getting Boss Baby vibes from this. Like,
can you start real Parkour Civilization vibes from this? Like going to a screening of Parasite and being like, I'm getting some real Parkour Civilization vibes from this.
Can I talk about the line that killed
Plays
all
Final
of us?
Fantasy VII. I'm getting real parkours.
Oh man, I do not want to do that again. There must be a parkour god looking out for me.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because that fucking moment happens in the story where like he makes a jump is seemingly impossible, or he believes to be impossible, and thanks whatever parkour god exists in there. And I jokingly said like, yeah, we're gonna get a parkour god. Like what? And then 20 minutes later, dude just appears behind him at his lowest point, being like, I am the parkour god, you called for me, basically.
And the parkour god, it's just like a zombie guy wearing like a t-shirt with a chocolate chip cookie on it, wearing heart boxes. Like, it is.
Oh yeah, this movie has a lot of cameo star power in it.
Like, I'm sure if you're big into Minecraft Let's Plays, this is like one of those like, oh shit, they got this guy here.
I can't imagine that's the case. I think these are just his friends.
I don't know. He's got like 1 million subscribers. I'm willing to bet that these are probably people who are his friends because of Minecraft YouTubing specifically.
No, sure.
But, oh my god.
As an aspiring creator, I feel a jealous rage at this person from the realization that by making a bunch of content in Minecraft format, they probably gained a ton of built-in following and attention from an audience of kids who are like growing up to support their endeavors now. Unquestioningly, why didn't I drop out of school in the Newgrounds era and become a Flash animator like Ego Raptor so I could have a big fucking audience now?
Okay,
but that's just the life of a podcasting noob. If you want to create endeavors to grow, you have to take chances.
+2. Good job, Bree.
Thank you.
No, you made me think about, so I needed to make like a thumbnail for this episode, and like I was struggling to find anything that would work as like just a screenshot for this movie to like serve as a thing. But you know what I did find? There is so much fucking fan art that exists for Parkour Civilization out there. Like, it's wild. Like, I had seen references to this thing on like the Action Button Discord for like months before ever hearing about it from you, Evie. Like, there's one GIF from like Paper Mario that's like the 1 block vertical versus 1 block horizontal jump for like beef or chicken, and like Paper Mario fails to make the jump, and I did not understand it. Like, they kept reposting it, and I'm just like, I have no idea what's happening here.
Oh my god.
And at this point, I'm afraid to ask. And then I watched this, and I was like, oh, that's what people were fucking talking about all this time. They're talking about, like, beef or chicken. I'm thinking they're, like, making weird references to Pop Team Epic, but it's like, no, it's a fucking... it's Minecraft by Surviving Parkour Civilization. I don't know what else I could talk about with this movie. We could talk about like the whole conspiracy to like keep him down, and like that's like another part of it that is very like naivete in like the storytelling, where like every time he gets to a new layer, there's like someone sneakily around a corner being like, yes, he breached the next layer, but we'll make sure to stop him next time.
Yeah. And like there are parkour battles.
That's what I was gonna bring up, is the fucking parkour battles, which eventually culminates into something like kind of vaguely cool, but like every single one before then is like, it's in the same way that like early on the parkour in general like means nothing to you. The first time that you see a parkour battle, you're like, this is so stupid. Yeah. This is one of the dumbest fucking things I've seen in my life.
Yeah, when you see someone like when it's like his perspective and he's making a jump, like it is like you see his movement, right? And so like it's like it kind of works. But like when he's seeing someone else making a jump and it's just a little Minecraft man just like flailing in the air, it's the dumbest thing you've ever seen in your life. It is. And I'm surprised
we haven't talked about this. The fact that this movie has like a Johnny Test whip crack like relationship with Vine Booms.
Oh my god!
So many Vine Booms.
Right. How can we? Anytime something even remotely surprising happens, it's just like Vine Boom, Vine Boom, Doom. Like
sometimes one right after.
To the point that it, like, I would argue, basically becomes like the soundtrack for the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot about the Vine Boom because it happens so much that it just like gets like it melts into the background of the movie.
Yeah. It's so good.
But like. Also, the other thing about the parkour battles is, like, early on, he discovers that the trick is just to do 360s because no one can do 360s. So
this is the story of how a man becomes a god by attaining like a marginal competitive edge over everyone else.
Yeah. Well, here's the way he becomes a god is fun because like after he feels like he's been knocked down to the lowest level again and there's just no way to get back up, he's picked up by someone who gives him a pair of diamond boots. One of those like the level that you're at determined by the shoes.
Well, no, there's a few layers. So there's a natural flow to this movie where it usually revolves around he gets up to one layer, he gets knocked back down, or he at the very least gets on to the verge of getting to the next layer, gets knocked back down because like I described, he like gets the ticket and you know he falls into parkour prison, but he makes his way back up. We haven't talked about the old man living in his walls.
No, yeah, I was gonna say that's the guy who then like gives him.
Well, no, what he gives him is he says like, oh, you know, I may, you know, I got a raffle ticket, but I know I could never make it to be like a champion or something like that.
Yeah,
so
that which allows you to break the barrier to move up. Yeah.
Here's my raffle ticket. You can go on in my stead. So he's able to get back up. And then there's another point where he like gets even higher but falls down again. And that's effectively when the parkour god like comes up to him and says like, hey, remember when I helped you earlier without your knowing? Here's some diamond boots. Now you can do whatever. Because it literally just gives him the power of God.
Yeah.
He could just destroy whatever blocks it. It's so, oh my God.
So like once you get toward the end of the movie and he's standing up top and just like, well, I guess I've become the god of parkour world, but I think I know what I have to do. So he goes back down and goes, I think you, old man who gave me this, should be the one in charge. And he goes, what, you think this is what I wanted? I don't want to be in charge of this shit.
I don't want this shit.
And then he jumps to his death. So he goes back up and he's like, okay, so I guess I'm god of this world now.
And that's when it ends. Bridget was so mad. When that happened, she was like, that's the end. It's like, yeah.
My absurdist brain. I love it.
In some ways, it's very classical movie of it in that, like, no, you don't get any, like, wind down or epilogue to it. It's just, like, the characters did the thing that they were going to do, and that's it. It's almost Spielbergian in that sense.
Like, yeah, sure.
Jurassic Park, you don't need to see what happens when they, like, get back to land. They get in the helicopter and they're gone. Bye-bye.
I like when the main character goes to each floor and somehow people are surprised that they're like, oh, you must be new here. If people aren't moving between the levels, shouldn't you know everyone there? Like, how are you surprised somebody? How are you being like, oh, there's somebody, you must be new. People aren't moving and shaking.
I mean, that's them expressing their surprise. Like, the game is so rigged that, you know, no one can move between levels, so they see a new person.
He does shit, and then he's like, hey, what are you doing? You must be new here, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
You ever seen New Money? It's really stupid. Like... You don't know how to act, you know?
Oh, man.
God, and I will say, too, like, I don't know what it was, but, like, the higher level with, like, the skyscraper houses was actually really aesthetically pleasing to my very autistic brain. I was like, this is kind of neat. There was an amount of love put into, like, laboring these entire levels of, like...
you bringing that up somehow, like, triggered in my brain, like... a thing that I realized I mildly wanted to talk about, which is like, it's fascinating how Minecraft has become kind of like the kids game.
Yeah.
At this point, like, you would think after all these years, because we're almost like 2 decades into the lifespan of Minecraft, that it would have like more or less fallen out of that space just by entropy's sake.
Sure.
But it's still hanging on, and I think that's genuinely impressive.
It is.
In a sense. Like, I kind of always thought it would eventually go away, but here I am, like, a decade and change later, being like, oh no, the kids still love Minecraft. Yeah. They just also love Roblox and Fortnite.
Yeah, it's just so ubiquitous still, and like it's like just a, I don't know. I think it is like the appeal is so broad still that like I think it's just too useful to go anywhere.
Yeah, it's effectively you're given an easy to use Lego game.
No, yeah, like. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought. That
if you wish, you could make it a survival game. It was something more permanent, or you could just have fun. Whatever. Build your art pieces in Minecraft. Literally,
you can build a mountain if you do it brick by brick.
I guess for me, the main reason I express like surprise is because very much like. It's kind of something speaking to like how I have like my mind has changed over the years. Like, it is an interesting point of self-reflection for me, because my cynical brain when I was like in my 20s is just like, that's not gonna stay around for like that much longer. It's not that much of an impactful video game. And then I'm here like a decade later in my 30s being like, no, yeah, you know, Minecraft is like it is one of those fucking video games.
It's the Simpsons of video games.
That's just going to stay around. And honestly, it's cool that it is sticking around the way that is because of the malleability of it that like Bridget is speaking to there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was another thing that I just thought about, like, because of that. Buying houses with parkour, the whole situation where you like have to complete your daily task, or like the parkour masters come down and challenge you to a battle. It's, oh my god, it's so
or just
dumb.
Like nominally you don't necessarily have to do it, but if you don't do it, like, people will ride your ass about it.
Oh yeah. Civilization collapses. You know, you become the squeaky wheel.
I do. My favorite part of the movie is when the animals can just parkour.
That's the funniest thing in the movie. Where it's just discovering that like the animals also parkour, and the ones that don't make it like become the food for like the lower levels. It's just. Well, you see a cow just like hopping around.
That's very funny. That's like the second best joke. The best joke is when they finally do the Doppler effect on like someone like falling off of a platform. I can't remember the context, but it's just someone in a fight like
tries to do a backward jump, I think.
And you hear them say, "Oh no."
Yeah, oh no. And I fucking died and was called a mark, and they're not wrong.
Yeah.
I love that. I love just slowly fading out voices. It makes me so happy.
How much more can we wring out of this?
I don't know. I have my final thoughts ready if y'all want to dive into that.
I'm glad that we touched on like the parkour animals, because I would feel like we had missed something if we didn't mention that. But I think otherwise,
I had to mention one positive thing. The one positive.
You had to be nice once.
Yes. So I guess if that's everything, Evie, what are your final thoughts on Minecraft But I Survive in Parkour Civilization full
I'm
movie?
very glad we watched this. There is a sequel and like a follow-up series.
Minecraft
where,
But I Survive in PvP Civilization.
yes, I don't necessarily feel a drive to watch those, but like I'm glad I watched this.
Yeah. Bree, what's your final thoughts on Minecraft But I Survive in Parkour Civilization full movie?
When I sat down to this, knowing just the few first minutes of it, as we had kind of demoed before we realized we have to watch this with our friends and only have to do this once, I did not expect to like it as much as I did. I would rate it somewhere between 3.5 to 4 stars, probably like a 3.5, film. It was an okay film. I can't say it was without grammatical errors, and it is a topic that I've seen addressed in cinema before. But yes, you can't ignore that this is a solid plot, a labor of love. The time that went into set building these layers of financial privilege in society, limited by the medium as it was. They made these scaling giant areas and arenas of action to exist in. I can't say my autistic brain didn't just kind of melt into that voxel aesthetic here and there and just really get, like, just pulled in by it. I think that I did not expect it to have anything to say, whether it meant to or not, as we've discussed, and I really enjoyed it. I think that's like a 3.5. Pretty good.
For sure. Bridget, what are your final thoughts on Minecraft But I Survive in Parkour Civilization full movie?
I think this is the first movie we've watched that is a 1-star movie. There's no reason to watch this. This is less. Anything this movie can provide can be found at least marginally better in an actual theatrical film at the very least.
I mean, I don't think that... So, my final thoughts on Minecraft But I Survive in Parkour Civilization full movie are that I think the most negative thing I have to say about this movie is I wish that Evbo as a creator, and I guess YouTubers in general, weren't held down so much by the metrics of like having to hit like view counts and stuff like that for the sustainability of their career and things like of that nature. Because to go back to what Evie was talking about earlier in the podcast, I think the thing to take a value from this movie that we watched is like we are seeing people trying to use alternative means of crafting stories that we don't typically see people crafting stories through. It's not simply that it is a video game telling the story. It is people trying to use video games as the film stock for producing some kind of narrative or the like to sell to audiences. And I think that is a valuable thing to consider.
Sure.
Like if we look at the idea, because it's a concept that's existed for a while now, but it's only been used as like a purely comedic thing. Like you look at like Red versus Blue, like Machinima, like that whole thing, like that is, it's primarily been an avenue for just like, oh, this is a sitcom. This is just what we are getting here. But now we're like with the Grand Theft Hamlet or with Parkour Civilization, we are getting people trying to tell stories through these means that aren't just the stories that the game presents. And I think that is...
Well, yeah, that concept is not new, though.
But I think it's interesting. I think that is where the value in this film lies. Like, I don't think that it is a worthless thing to watch, because I think it is, considering the popularity of this thing, there will be more things that take influence from it, regardless of how dire of like a statement that can maybe feel like for the state of media now. There will be people that take influence from this in creating things moving forward. That was the whole
Yeah,
point.
and hopefully they make something better than
But we are the thing that makes it fascinating is that this is going to be an influential work.
Yeah.
Which is
where's your influential video game narrative, huh?
a select few people. Yes, this could possibly be an influence.
I think you're underestimating the scope.
That is what my final thought that I am trying to get across is that like, despite how stupid and like bad the storytelling is in this at points, we are watching this. You are watching something that will become an influential work for future creators.
Yeah, this specific video has been watched 34 million times.
Yeah, like Bridget, consider there's probably a lot of children watching this who will be inspired to create something through it.
To people.
I don't think Grandma Got Ran Over by a Reindeer is, though.
It influenced a lot of people.
It's not influential though. Like you're talking over the point that I'm trying to make here is I think there is value in watching this thing because I think much like Minecraft in and of itself is a video game that's had like a ripple effect, like in terms of like video games, I think that this is going to be one of those things that has a weird ripple effect to it in terms of like independent storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's interesting about it is, like, even though the machinima has been around for a long time, this is something that's come out of, like, the very specific, like, the kind of, like, I was talking about, like, the kind of, like, narrow cultural, like, influence of just, like Minecraft machinima has itself been around for a long time. And, like, this is something that has clearly been influenced by Minecraft machinima that has already existed. Like, I think it's interesting as something that is like it itself comes from an interesting cultural, it has its own interesting set of influences, and like it's gonna proliferate that stuff.
Yeah, like it's very much going to be like a stone being thrown into like a lake type thing where like it's going to ripple out in weird ways.
And the accessibility of telling a story is there as well. You know, like you said, using
that's a very fair point.
Because here's the thing: when there are people probably like David Lynch who grew up seeing the moving pictures and went like, "Man, I want to work in film." Not everyone can afford to work in film and get film stock and have money and opportunities, but all you need are these simple building blocks, very much in this case, to create a narrative that you've come up with, and that can be the beginning of something very important.
Lynch made short films first.
Yeah,
it goes to the medium like being the thing, because I think the thing that we've only briefly talked about in the beginning is going to be a big part of why this is an influential thing. This was something that was produced in shorts.
Yeah.
Like, just small, super bite-sized things for people to watch on the internet. And, like, that's the main way that, like, young people consume media now, is in, like, shorts.
Whether we like it or not, it is the reality of the media landscape now. And, like, I just think that it's fascinating that, you know, in the necessity of needing a way to express creativity, there are now these so many different ways that one can. These so many building blocks for telling a particular narrative that allow people with an idea to do so without needing a ton of like funding, the means to create it, the equipment and everything. If you have a computer and a game that you can run, that you can fuck with it like that, that's you can do this. You know, you can do the Hamlet thing with like GTA. It's a really cool concept.
So Bree is wholeheartedly into the concept of QB.
I don't know what that is, so that's untrue.
QB was a
You're referring to Quibi, yeah.
Quibi is what you're thinking. It was a very short-lived, like, streaming platform that was entirely videos, like, in that, like, vertical, like, aspect
they were short
ratio.
form videos.
Yes.
No, that would imply that I care about TikTok or
made
like,
by
you know,
Jeffrey Katzenberg, by the way.
Was that the thing that had an ad where someone was about to crash a plane because they're like, oh, I can't land it. I gotta watch another Quibi. Was that?
Probably.
Dude,
I don't know.
You can watch this video for free on Poobi. It's free with ads on Poobi.
But like that's if anything, Bridget, that's almost antithetical to what we're talking about here. Like Quibi is someone trying to like make that a corporate thing that everyone could get into. We're talking about more like this is an independent art form that people can like take up and work with. And that's why we think it is an important thing and why people should experience it.
You should not watch this. Anyways.
Wow.
You can watch it if you want to. That's what I'm gonna say.
It's probably really easy to have on because, like, if you miss anything, if you stop paying attention for a few minutes, it'll explain what's going on. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, I guess it's my turn to pick a movie. I don't have any preamble for the movie I'm gonna pick this time. Like I don't even know if I'm fully committed on this. I don't know. This time we're gonna watch Little Miss Sunshine. So we're going back to 2000s indie.
Are you using
comedies.
a wild card for that?
Yes, of course
I'm using
else
a wild card. Gonna connect something to this?
I'm using my final wild card for us to go watch Little Miss Sunshine, and that's how this podcast ends. You can find the podcast at putontheList.bsky.social, putontheList.neocities.org, White City Productions on YouTube.com, or anywhere that major podcasts are sold.
You can find me VTubing over on Easy Breezy TV on Twitch. That's EAZYBREEZY. Are you two anywhere?
Evie?
Generally no, but sometimes I guest on streams with Bridget.
Where does she stream though?
Where does
How
Bridget
will the people
stream?
know?
I can be seen streaming on twitch.tv/Squatchless. I think that's it.
Yay. You did it.
Occasionally guessing on things like Xandra's stream. That'll be fun.
Something that will happen before this podcast is released.
Yeah, so by the time this is released, you can go watch the archive of that probably. And also, I just want to say that, yes, this is the podcast that told you don't watch the horse movie, watch this child play Minecraft.
Yeah.
I felt that I had a better time watching Parkour Civilization than I did watching Uma Musume.
Now I'm going to use your lines for instead. You are correct.
I also feel that like it had more to say, but like on an actual genuinely tangible level that you cannot contest, I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed the Uma Musume movie. So I would say that this is Uma Musume I'd give like 1 star. This I would give like 3.5. I think it's a good film. So I guess that's it. Everybody, thank you for listening.
I feel good at suggesting anything now because if this is the bar.
So mean.
Bridget?
Where's your video game magnum opus?
Bridget, to foreshadow the season finale of this podcast here, Uma Musume is going to be below Parkour Civilization in my ranking of films.
Not mine, I guarantee that.
I mean, I know that. I'm just letting you know that, like, this is better than Uma Musume.
We're gonna do a live stream of our finale for the year. Like,
it's gonna be so fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. Anyways, we're ending the podcast. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. I didn't know I had to be the heroine of the podcast.
What we've used connected.
Do not try. I'm not gonna stop the recording there. You are not gonna fucking vilify us like that.
I was so fair to the fucking Horse Girl movie.
Yeah.
I was so fair.
I'm sorry, go back to watching my 100 girlfriends who really, really love me and get that quality that you so desire.
I felt so grateful, Bridget, when you had us watch The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you will not be allowed to be the hero of this podcast.
Hey, Bridget, if you thought this movie was boring, just wait until my last pick.
Great.
That means we're
wait.
watching soccer. Yay! Okay, now I'm actually ending the podcast.
Baba Booey.
What reviews connected by cast or crew, deciding the next film, that's the gist. Put it on the list.
Really, the first hour...
Wait, no. Bridget walked away. She's wanting us to wait on the conversation.
Okay. I have something to say when she comes back.
Yeah, sure. Gives me time to drink some water. Gives us time for the EV minute.
Oh, it's the EV minute. Okay.
Yeah, I want it to be... I'll have it be a surprise, because I need water, too.
So one thing I've been doing while I've been listening to Neuromancer and like long non-Minecraft parkour related YouTube videos is I've been playing a lot of Power Wash Simulator, and I finished the career mode in Power Wash Simulator finally. And
how does that end?
it ends basically
Spoilers.
it builds spoilers for Power Wash Simulator. It builds to like there's a volcano that's going to basically explode and like be like a Yellowstone sort of thing. But the last thing in career mode that you clean is like a giant palace of Atlantis.
Oh.
And when you finish cleaning that, Atlantean technology erupts and fixes the volcano, and you save the day by being a power washer.
You could 100% be lying to me, but I would still believe you.
There's only one way to find out.
Anyways,